This is something I really wanted to look at this while I was not streaming, right? Because it's the MST archetype. And I know this is not the newest news because you guys have probably all seen this last week, but I haven't. I held off because I was focused on the Duelist Cup prep and on the Duelist Cup. I heard they made MST into an archetype, which as an old head, I think is just hilarious and very cool. I like this a lot. The idea of just making an archetype around a super iconic staple from back in the day, which is like Mystical Space Typhoon. Still, I don't think it would I still would not call Mystical Space Typhoon a bad card in modern standard. It's just very simplistic, right? It's just a very simple card that usually doesn't see play because like Cosmic Cyclone is slightly better. But like if there's a deck that incentivizes you to play MST, that's kind of neat. I mean, most modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks don't really have great spell trap removal, or like some of them don't have great spell trap removal. So the ability to somehow incorporate that card into your deck is kind of neat. But we'll see, I guess. I don't know. I just think the idea behind this is cool. So we have Magnifi-Storming Megala. So is Magnifi-Storming? Yeah, Magnifi-Storming is the name for it. The archetype. Level 3 Wind Fairy effect monster. 500 attack, 1500 defense. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. If you have Mystical Space Typhoon in your graveyard, or your opponent controls no spell traps, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a Magnifi-Storm quick play spell or Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, you can special summon a Magnifi-Storm monster from your deck with a different name from the monsters you control. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except wind monsters. Okay. I like the lock, first of all. Shoutouts to whoever put that there. I like when decks have proper locks, and being locked to wind, I think, is certainly a lock. That certainly counts as restriction. And yeah. No, what I can immediately tell here is that this card is going to be a lot better when you're going first, because then your opponent will just never have a spell trap, and then you can always just special summon it out for free. You do need another card to make it work, though. First, because it's not a, it doesn't, it needs another. I guess we'll see how many quick play spells they have. Magnifi-Storming Air Dam. Level 3 Wind Beast. You can only special summon with the first effect once per turn. You can ooh, do they all have this? Okay, if you have Space Typhoon in your grave or your opponent controls no spell traps, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Magnifi-Storm monster or a Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck to your hand, except Air Dam. Okay, so this even makes it so the deck has very, very searchable outs to spell traps, which is cool, and that's obvious. That's a good card, you know. That's a good card, because you can just special summon it. This is also just like going first, right? This is just Terror Top, if you think about it. Just baseline, right? Because you can just special this, add this, and then special this. And as long as you don't use the effect of this, then you don't care. Like, you're not getting locked, because this one does not lock you. This one this one does not lock you. This one locks you. So it can just be special summoned going first for a +1. Of course, the downside is that when you're going second and your opponent sets one imperm, you can't special summon it anymore. But yeah. Magnifi-Storm Suen. You can only special summon. Okay, if you have MST in your grave, same effect. If this card is normal or special, you can add a spell trap or MST from your deck to your hand. Okay, see, so this makes this a even this is 2 bodies plus a spell in your hand, right? Like, you go first, special this, search this, special this, add a spell trap. There you go. See, that's not terrible. Maybe even as like an engine. Maybe if there's a format where the most popular decks like don't run much back row and you don't like care, like going second, this could play into boards pretty well, depending on how things go. Magnifi-Storming Crothia. Level 6 Winged Beast effect monster. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn. If a quick play spell card is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Storm card and or a mystical space from your deck and or grave to your hand, except Crothia. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except wind monsters. So what you're telling me is that I draw phase, I activate a runic spell. I activate a runic spell to special summon, all right? Then I chain Crothia to it. I special Hugin because I'm not locked into wind yet. I special summon Crothia, which adds 2 cards from my deck to my hand for free. And I also chain block my Hugin because I go chainlink 1 Hugin, chainlink 2 Crothia. Or the other way around, depending on which one you care about more. Okay. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while your opponent controls no spell traps. Magnificestorm Vortex Beauty Valrune. Level 9 Wind Aqua. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If a quick play spell is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. I want to point out, I skipped over this right now. This also includes your opponent's quick plays. If your opponent is playing a deck with any quick play spells in it, you can just use these cards going second immediately. Like, you will start your turn with just more cards in hand and a free body on the board. If your opponent plays any quick play spells on the first turn, right? I don't know, whichever deck you're thinking of that has a quick play spell, you can just use these cards against going second. You lock yourself out of Nibiru? You do, yeah, you do. That's another thing that you have to be aware of, that after you do this, your opponent does not have to play around Nibiru at all when you're doing it going second. That's a good point. When your opponent activates a monster effect and you have Mystical Space Typhoon in your grave, quick effect, you can negate that effect, and if you have 2 or more Mystical Space Typhoon in your grave, you can destroy that monster. If Mystical Space Typhoon is activated while this card's in your grave, you can special summon it. Okay, that's a neat recursion. That's a very annoying card to deal with, I suppose. Okay, MST does negate, sure. Fair enough. Yeah, good point. Hilarious. MST now negates. Yeah. This card is good. This card is good. It's it's good. It's solid. I'm like waiting right now because I still need to see their own quick play spells, because I think so far from what I'm reading here, this is all solid cards. I don't see the bigger picture yet of how exactly this deck wants to play, and how good it would be, because it's missing some like payoff. It's missing, or maybe not payoff, because they have some payoff, but like I need more. Okay, it seems like, yeah. So there's 2 types of monsters, right? They have three monsters that you summon if your opponent has no spell traps or you have MST in your grave, and then the other 3 summon themselves in response to a quick play spell. This is the third one. If a quick play spell is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a quick play spell is activated, you can target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, shuffle them into the deck. If Mystical Space Typhoon is activated while this card's in your grave, you can special summon it. I mean, that's a powerful form of removal, dude. It does target, and here's the thing with this one, it can be chain blocked. This is the type of, and I think that's a positive actually for like, I like this when oh wait, no, is this a trigger or a quick effect? No, it's a trigger. I think it's a trigger. I think I yapped. Because it doesn't say quick. No, it's a trigger. Yeah, it's a trigger. Never mind. The hand effects are also triggers. They also cannot be chain blocked, which is good for the deck. Yeah, it's a new chain. It is a new chain. Yeah. Oh, so chain blocking Hugin is even better with these. Because you can just go chainlink 1 Hugin, chainlink 2 effect in hand. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, those are your payoffs, I suppose. It's the Valrune and the Phoenix, right? You get a monster negation and you can shuffle 2 away. That's so far what you have. Magnificestorm Stanza Tribute. Quick play. Activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of these once per turn. Add a level 4 or lower Magnifistorm monster from your deck to your hand. Add a Mystical Space Typhoon from deck or graveyard to your hand. If this card is destroyed by the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon, you can set this card. Oh, I get it. I get it. I think I get what this means. Do all of the spell traps have this? They do. Yeah, they do. Okay. I think that is so that if you play against a deck without like much spell traps, you can MST yourself just to make sure that MST can get into your graveyard, so you can you know, get these guys out of your hand. Also, very often you just want to be able to activate Mystical Space Typhoon right here. Because all of the big ones can come back from the graveyard if Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, which in theory would make your opponent be able to play around it completely by just not having any spell traps, which forces you to MST yourself. So that means they gave the spell traps a positive effect when you MST yourself. So basically you activate the, let's just call this the Rhoda, the quick play Rhoda. You just activate it, and then you can chain MST on it, and then it comes back. The mirror sounds Troll Despair. I don't know if I agree. The mirror sounds complicated, is what I would say. I don't think it's because they don't have any like toxic interactions with each other. It just means that like the cards trigger each other, which is not a bad thing. That feels more like it's a lot going on. But that's not always a bad thing. That seems kind of fun, actually. I don't hate this so far. This seems fine. Magnifistorming Summoning Technique. Activate one of these effects. Send a Magnifistorm from your deck to your graveyard, or add Mystic. Or every single spell trap can search MST, which is cool. You're just not gonna lose to random floodgates, except for Anti-Spell Fragrance. With this deck, which is nice. Sending Magnifistorms from deck to grave is, I think, worse than searching. Like, searching the small ones. The small ones are the good engine ones, right? Sending the big ones from deck to grave just so you can bring them back later is fine, right? Wait, do they immediately... Wait, okay, how does this work? If Mystical Space Typhoon... Oh, no, this is not Mystical Space Typhoon. Never mind. You would have to activate this, send one to the grave, then activate MST. Okay. I feel like what's missing so far is... I wish they had more ways to just search MST for free. Because what I'm seeing so far is that, yes, you can search Mystical Space Typhoon with this card. But if you want to do that, you have to skip on doing the other part, which is not something you want to do, right? You would always like to add, I think. You wouldn't like... The only one that searches MST for free, quote unquote, is this one, right? This one searches MST for free because it searches a Magnifistorm card and an MST. In which case, you're not missing out on the other thing. You can use both effects in the same turn. Yeah, but let's like... That requires you to draw 2 or search 2, which at that point you are using a search for this card instead of another card, and so on and so forth, right? So it's like, it's iffy. But yeah. Because I feel like this deck feels like a deck that only flows well if you can keep up having Mystical Space Typhoon in hand and in grave, right? Because the more times you can activate Mystical Space Typhoon, the more times you can bring these guys back from the grave, the better your grind game is. But like Mystical Space Typhoon, I don't think is... It's not a bad card, but I don't think you would want to play 3 copies. Or maybe you do just because it's so important for the archetype. But you would most likely prefer to like get them for free and recycle them. And you don't want to use like a dedicated effect on getting back MST to your hand. But maybe it's fine, but yeah. And then we have Sight Trance. Activate one of these effects. Draw 2 cards, then discard a Magnifistorm card or a quick play spell. If you do not have any in your hand, discard your entire hand. Bro, draw 2, discard a Runic? I can play this in Runics. I don't need to play a Magnifi-Storm deck for that. That's just Allure of Darkness for Runics. No, that's actually good. That's good. You discard a Runic and that's free anyways because Fountain just gives it back. And Striker, dude, this is a generically good card. Of course, I'm thinking Runics first, but this is a generically good card. If you're playing Sky Striker and you play like infinite quick play spells anyways, because you play heck, you might even play one Mystical Space Typhoon in Sky Striker. That's not outrageous. To like, you can like Space Typhoon sometimes your own stuff to trigger it, like your whatever, if you play Area 0 or whatever. Like, people have definitely played Cosmic Cyclone in Sky Striker before. You play Magnific Storm to search this. I mean, yeah, there's parts of this that don't really lock you, right? There's like some cards are not as splashable, like Crothia or Megala, but you can definitely play Airdam and Suen in like other decks. And you can definitely play this in other decks as well. I like this archetype. Shocker, it has synergy with Runic cards. Just Josh likes it. Who would have known? No, I'm happy right now. I'm vibing. Trap card. Continuous trap card. Once per turn, you can target 3 quick play spells in your grave, including a Magnifi-Storm card. Apply these effects in sequence. Shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card. Okay, that's just budget Royal Fountain. Wind monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense for the rest of this turn. Once per chain, when Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effects. Okay, but that's a quick effect, right? It doesn't say quick effect, but it says when instead of if. Or no, it's not. It's a trigger, but it just misses timing. Once per chain, when Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effects. It has to be in chain, otherwise it makes no sense. It has to be a quick effect. Do traps just not specify quick effect because it's implied that it's a quick effect because it's a trap? Is that how it works? I've never paid attention to that wording quirk on trap cards. I'm just so used to it always specifying quick effect. Yes, okay. If this card is destroyed by the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon, you can set this card. I mean, this feels like if you're playing a dedicated Magnifi-Storming deck, you would want to play 1 copy of this, because it is a pretty neat... It's a pretty neat resource loop. It puts all your quick play spells back into the deck so you don't run out. You draw a card. When you activate your Space Typhoon, you get multi... Like, I mean, this is really good. Because you can negate any card with it. You can negate spells, you can negate monsters, you can chain to negate anything, even normal spell cards. This is the one that truly makes MST a negate, which is funny. Like you can like negate Heavy Storm with Mystical Space Typhoon now, finally, like 22 years after. Yeah, okay. This is the one that makes the mirror a little bit annoying. This playing around this card, I feel like would be very important in the mirror match, because the thing is, this being a quick effect that chains to Mystical Space Typhoon means that it can be chain blocked. Like let's say your opponent activates Lightning Storm to destroy all your spell traps, and you chain Mystical Space Typhoon because your plan is to chain this to then negate your opponent's Lightning Storm. If your opponent chains to the Mystical Space Typhoon, you cannot use this. You've been chain blocked. This does not work when you have this and your opponent Mystical Space Typhoons, because then you can always just chain this. And because you're the first one to respond to your opponent's MST. But yeah. Dude, if anything, this is just a fun concept in my head. I don't know. Nothing here is toxic or anything like that, you know? Like, this is all just fun stuff, I think. I just like this. There's no, like, everything is unaffected or negate everything. I mean, yeah, they have a monster effect negation on a 0 attack body. It does have 3,000 defense, but like you're just gonna like end on a 3,000 defender thingy. You know, this is fine, man. Yeah, they have a winged beast, which means Featherstorm could be a thing, which is cringe. Featherstorm needs to be banned, man. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and drop a very hot take that definitely not everyone has. Featherstorm, I mean, look, we're getting closer and closer to less floodgates, but Featherstorm needs to go. That's besides the point. I like these cards. I think they're fun. And that's not only because they appear to have some synergy with Runics. Of course, that is something that I enjoy, but in general, this just seems fine. I like this. This seems fun. It seems like it's like a grindy deck that has a lot of ways to resource loop out the graveyard. Doesn't strike me as the most combo heavy deck, because the thing is, like, in theory, these cards are very insane starters and extenders. Like, they can potentially special summon a lot. But the problem is, you cannot rely on this. Like, you can't really build a deck around this because they only do this going first, right? If you go first and your opponent has no spell traps yet, naturally, you can just special summon them all. But that's not something you can completely build the deck around, because then what do you do going second when your opponent sets a couple of cards? Like, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna have to draw MST then, I guess, and then you can special all of it. But yeah, no, I like this. This seems fun.